This is Functional Weight Loss. My name is Tracey Stroup. I'm the Vice President of Nutritional Frontiers. It's a supplement company out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So I have a bachelor's degree in exercise science. I started out in personal training and in weight loss and all that good stuff. And then I went into naturopathic health, where I am now as a naturopathic doctor. I went to Trinity. I was also their VP of operations for a time being. So I worked here, went to school here. I love it. And just a little disclaimer, this information obviously is for informational purposes only. It does not replace the, you know the rest, information from your licensed medical practitioner. So a little bit about me, like I said, I have a BS in exercise science. I'm a naturopathic doctor. I'm a certified natural health professional. I've been in this industry about 25 years. So I've seen a lot, learned a lot, have done a lot. And what I really appreciate about natural health is it's always ever evolving. So most importantly, I'm a wife, I'm a mom, and I'm a lover of Jesus Christ. So I think one of the big things that we can really contribute to weight gain is, this recent pandemic where people had the quarantine 15 or the quarantine 20. This was actually a study that they did. They found that 68% of people were snacking more, but 74% were cooking at home. So I know a lot of the information out there was attributing weight gain to eating out a lot. What they saw was they were ordering out less, but the biggest thing that they were doing less was the exact same amount of people who were exercising less were the people that gained the most weight. So literally by not moving, by not, detoxifying the body, and we're going to talk about this little correlation right here, but I think we had a pretty big pandemic on that. So why do we gain weight? Guys, I know the calorie in, calorie out model, that's an archaic model. It's not that you can't eat 50,000 calories a day and not gain weight. I mean, obviously you will, but we really need to look at adipocyte health. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is actually how healthy is your fat, because it does a lot of things. But most weight gain comes from deficiency, toxicity, inflammation, food sensitivities, hormone imbalance, underlying issues that are creating an offset immune response, whether it is from those food sensitivities or we have some sort of virus, metal dysbiosis or medical issue. And a lot of it is medications. We are 5% of the world's population in the United States, in the United States. We make up 5%. We consume 70% of all medications produced in the world. So we are 35th in health. We have more dis-ease, osteoporosis, orthopedic injuries, so on and so forth than any other country in the world. And we're supposed to have the best medical care. So it tells you we're failing miserably. So with that said, I want to talk a little bit about fat cells because, is it bad? Is it good? I think Twiggy started the revolution in the 1960s where she became vegan. We got the whole fat-free model that went on. And honestly, I still see it present today where people are fatophobic. So fat is often seen as the enemy, but if you can see, it has tons of processes: thermogenic temperature control, hormone balance, fat-soluble vitamins, insulates nerves, supports our immune system. It makes up the membranes that surrounds every single cell in your body. So every single cell in your body is made from fat, which explains the nanolipid particle that they used with the most recent jab, if you've heard of that. It was surrounded in fat so it could bind with your fat tissue, so it could be pushed into the cell. So this is a really important point. So fat cell anatomy, these are specialized storage units. These are not bad, they're not the enemy. They're actually extremely important to our life and to our body. And so we want to make sure that we keep them healthy. They store excess lipids when we have excess lipids. And adipocytes were once thought of as just dull little sacks of energy, but a few decades of research, and honestly, these only have been researched since 2008, which is unfortunate. We know that it regulates many nutrients and hormones. So we have to give fat good credit. These are just some of the things that they do. I mean, angiotensin 2, adiponectin, leptin, resistin, TNF-alpha, and interleukin 6. Do you guys remember when you heard about the cytokine storm with COVID? This is what this was. And I'm going to connect for you the correlation between people that were overweight, obese, on numerous medications, or had comorbidities, that why their fat cells were so sick was why they became more susceptible to COVID. And then how we can offset that, because it's really important. So this is just the anatomy of a fat cell. And here's the good thing and the bad thing. You have a set number of fat cells by the time you're 25. Okay, you don't have any more. and you don't lose them. So we're going to take the words burning fat out of your mouth. It's not even biochemically possible, okay? But what happens is whether or not they get bigger or smaller. And that really depends on the adipocyte health and integrity and what's inside the fat cell that matters. So we don't burn fat. We just expand or shrink as the energy inside is stored or burned. And they do die off, okay? They can die, but your body will automatically replace them. So if you guys ever hold of that cold pressing, they like take your fat, and they take part of your butt and they like put it in these cold plates and they squeeze it and all the fat cells freeze and die. And everyone's like, I feel like so much thinner. And like 20 minutes later, it like shows up somewhere else. Same thing with liposuction. You get liposuction, you have it pulled out of your belly. Your body has a set number of fat cells. It's going to come back somewhere else. Your body's smart. It's meant to save your life. And that's exactly what it's going to do. So the big fat myths, when you lose weight, where does it go? Here's the thing, guys. Your adipocyte integrity, whether sick or healthy, you still keep the same number. It's just how big or small. So it's really important that we understand. And this is just a picture of the adipocyte. I don't know if you saw Dr. Judy's lecture yesterday. She said there's more mitochondria in your brain than in your muscle. What's your brain made of? It's fat. It's a glob of fat with some, synapses and neurocommunication. That's all it is. There are 2,000 to 15,000 mitochondria in your fat cells. You are a massive potential of ATP is what you have. And if it's healthy, you'll use it for healing. And if it's sick, that ATP will be used for cytokine storms and inflammation. And we're going to break down how that happens. So this is adipose tissue. It's actually its own organ system. It has pre-adipocytes. It has T cells, macrophages. It has a vascular system. It has all of these cool things that are extremely important. It also has the extracellular matrix, fibroblasts, blood vessels. And then right here, it has its own way to reduce adiponectin, TNF-alpha, interleukin-6, and macrophage potential. Now, this is important because nobody really realizes that your immune system begins in your adipocyte tissue. Okay, when you have inflammation of any kind, whether I come and I punch you in the arm or you get a viral infection, your adipocyte health determines that cytokine storm. Remember back here on this slide when we said, look at all the cool things that come out. Right there, TNF-alpha, interleukin-6. That's your cytokine storm. The way that this is going to break down is whether you can break down angiotensin 1-7 and angiotensin 2. And that's how you balance macrophage and macrophage type 2. And we're going to talk about that. So really, when people are overweight, it's not that they are overeating. Some people have metabolic dysfunction because their fat cells are sick. So we ever heard of triglycerides, right? We think triglycerides are bad, right? What's a triglyceride? It's one glycerol and 3 fatty acids connected. So it's the way your body takes fat and stores it for energy to be used later for ATP production, recovery, immune system modulation, hormone production. And we want to burn these things, destroy them, suck them out. We hate these things. And they're actually been demonized and they're very important. So when your body takes a triglyceride, it will put it inside the fat cell. So you have one glycerol and these 3 fatty acids. When your body needs energy through a process called lipolysis, it pulls it out into the blood, breaks it apart, and your body has energy. Now, what happens is that 65% of what you eat that you don't use right away will be stored as one glycerol and 3 fatty acids if it can find one. So you have one little sugar molecule and 3 fatty acids. Now, what if that sugar molecule can't find a glycerol, right? Then what happens? The sugar molecule's floating around, and then all of a sudden you have high blood sugar. What's insulin? It's a hormone. Right? It's controlled by your adipocyte health. So when we see people that are diabetic, they're already inflamed. They already have hormone dysregulation. They're already sick. They're already in a cytokine storm. And then we add a virus, which is why diabetics are more susceptible to COVID. Okay? This is just kind of a breakdown. Homer Simpson eating the sub. We see that we have the triglycerides. And then your free fatty acids are the ones that, that we're going to use for energy. And that's that process of lipolysis. Your triglycerides plus 3 H2O equals a glycerol breaks the chain. So what is this right here? It's water. Hydration. Why do you think that drinking water helps you lose weight? It's not because it cuts your appetite, it's because it helps with the process of lipolysis. So it's really important that we don't get caught up in all of this propaganda to sell you a product. We want to make sure they're functional. So this is a healthy, lean person, 5 pounds, maybe overweight maximum. You can see there's macrophage type 1 activity going on here. But what it's doing is making sure that these fat cells are healthy. We don't want any viral infections, bacterial infections, and we don't want any sick fat cells. Over here, as we have this hypertrophy and the fat cells are getting bigger because it's being loaded with toxicity, it's being loaded with more triglycerides than what you're burning, 65% of what you're eating, maybe it's the SAD diet, maybe it's not nutrient-dense food, maybe your body doesn't know what to do with it, and it's just getting all shoved into those fat cells. What happens is it crushes this vascular system. And so these fat cells literally start to become necrotic and they die. And when they die, your body sees inflammation and it sees an injury. And what happens at a point of injury? You get phagocytosis. You get a rush of macrophage type 1 to the area to come put out the inflammation and the fire. The issue is when people are overweight or have enlarged fat cells, this process happens 45% more than somebody that's lean. So you have an issue of a sick fat cell. So this is normal fat cells with good vascularity, good T cell modulation. MAC2 is activated. Over here, once you get 5 to 15 pounds overweight, you start to get a sicker fat cell where you're still producing some anti-inflammatory adipokines. And those are just proteins that these fat will throw to the blood to keep you healthy. But over here, once you hit the obesity level where your fat cells are massively inflamed, cutting off circulation to other adipocytes, you start getting pro-inflammatory cytokines. And look here, interleukin-6, TNF, all the things that we heard about during COVID. This is where we want to be. Healthy fat cells releasing anti-inflammatory adipokines. This is where most of our population lives. And then when we add a virus, it becomes deadly. So this is just an actual blown up picture of a healthy adipose tissue. You can see there's a little bit of macrophage activity keeping it clean. Over here, 5% macrophage activity on lean healthy tissue compared to 50%. They're already 50% inflamed, releasing pro-inflammatory cytokines. They're already sick, and then we add a virus. And that's what happened during COVID. So this is why when we look at weight, we can't look at calories in, calories out. You can't burn fat. You have to make it healthier. You have to increase this particular slide deck right here where we have more pro-inflammatory decreasing and more of these increasing. We need our fat cells to be healthy so we can modulate T cells and MAC2. So when the inflammation happens, you have 2 legs that happen with inflammation. Number 1, you get macrophage type 1. That's the fire truck guys. They come out and they say, fire, we have a viral infection, we have an injury, something's going on. They come out, they kill the virus, they kill the bacteria, they do all the things. Then your body is supposed to come in and increase macrophage type 2, which is kind of like your ambulance. He comes in, he picks up all the little dead viruses, he takes it where it's going to go, and they start the cellular repair. What happens in most obese individuals is they are all macrophage 1 type activity. They never get to a point where these fat cells aren't dying, that the macrophage type 2 can come in and say, all right, everybody calm down, we're going to clean this mess up. They're always pro-inflammatory. So you get this chronic inflammation causing disease, excess fat storage, adipocytes get too big, they outgrow the blood supply, they die. And then your macrophage type 1 are recruited to clean up the dead cells. The ATMs are released, inflammatory cytokines. We get TNF alpha, interleukin-6 in the blood. Back to chronic inflammation, more fat dies, and around we go. And eventually, it doesn't just stay in the fat cells, it's in your blood, then it's in your brain, then it's in your joints, then it's in your organ systems and functions. And when fat lays around organ systems and functions, not only does the macrophage destroy the fat around the organ, but then it starts to destroy the organ. How many people have ever heard of fatty tissue or fatty liver disease? Do you know that's not actually fat? It's macrophage 1 activity. It looks like fat on the liver. The liver is literally being destroyed by our own bodies. And they call it fatty liver, non-alcoholic induced cirrhosis, right? So this is kind of like an inflamed adipose tissue. You get TNF-alpha, interleukin-6. Now we have chronic dis-ease. It can manifest as insulin resistance. Maybe you get a tumor, damage to neurons. Now we have Alzheimer's, we have cancer. And over here is where they get to call it a disease and then charge your insurance. Over here is where we live, guys. As natural health professionals, we're over here. And we're going to help with the adipocyte. We're going to get back to the root of helping these people lose weight, because it's not about fitting into your skinny jeans. This is about chronic disease. We're the fattest, sickest country in the world. We have more obese, more orthopedic, more medical costs than any other country in the world. If our medical system is so good, why are we so sick? So it is not health care. What they do is not health care. What they do is disease management. What we do is health care. It's completely different, right? This is just an enlarged fat cell. So where the fat is really matters. So you have visceral fat. These are deposited around the organs. This is dangerous fat. Okay, it can be around your pancreas, it can be around your liver, it can be up around your heart. You ever see guys with big barrel chests or big old bellies? They can stick out and they have the real skinny legs, right? We also have ectopic fat, which is fat deposited in the organs. Okay, subcutaneous under the skin, that helps with thermogenic regulation. We need some fat. Here's the other thing, guys. We're too skinny in this country. Okay, when you don't have enough fat, what are you depleting in now? What's the largest component in fat is mitochondria. What does mitochondria produce? ATP, right? Energy for cellular repair. What happened to people that were super skinny or elderly that didn't have a lot of body fat when they got COVID? They died because they didn't have enough reserves. Okay, so two extremes. We can't be too much and too little. Fat is good. We don't want to keep demonizing it and keep burning it and try to kill it. Our women are too thin, right? And some people are too overweight. Intramuscular, that's in between. And everything else is non-fat, which is called non-essential fat. But this is what I'm talking about, central android obesity. This is strongly related to heart disease, diabetes, cancer, because it's close to the organs. I mean, think about addressing blood sugar, cardiovascular health, and oxidative stress here. I mean, not only are you going to help this gentleman lose weight, which is obviously what we want to do, but we have some secondary issues that are already happening because we know this fat is destroying organs right now. Okay? Fat placement here, peripheral. This is gynoid obesity. This is hormone health. Here's where your adipocytes, what organs are in this area, right? Uterus, ovaries. You're going to have hormone imbalances with these people. This is high estrogen. Women that have a lot of flab on the back of their arm, like when they wave, it waves. That's estrogen dominance. Okay, so we have to start looking at hormone health. So some of the things that I like to utilize to help the body regain homeostasis is simplicity. You know, again, it's not about calorie counting. I don't even talk about calories, and I don't give specific diets unless I'm really targeting something big. I'm real simple. Tree, ground, run, swim, fly. Falls from a tree, grows from the ground, swims in the ocean, flies in the sky, right? Non-GMO, organic, you can eat it. It's a real simple diet. Manipulate it any way you want. Make it yours, make it theirs, but make it simple. Make it something that they actually can do. One of the products that I use is called Power Cleanse and Proline Greens. This is actually a kit that I put together called Remove Complete. And the reason I did it is for a few reasons. Number one, it's a macronutrient matrix. Guys, women don't get enough protein and men take in too much. Okay, you can only utilize so much nutrition and you can't eat it all at once. Like I used to be in bodybuilding. I trained bodybuilders. You know, they were very successful. You know what we did to get them that lean? We starved them. That's what we did. And we just packed in the nutrition. Now it's so much better. And I'm talking 20 years ago when shakes tasted terrible. Like the Myoplex stuff was awful. So that's what we did. And we timed the nutrition. But what we were doing was we kept them at a point that their body needed to use their fat stores. And we kept them at enough protein and carbs that it didn't cause a degradation of their health or muscle tissue, right? It just actually helped burn out those triglycerides. So This is a great one because it gives you a full matrix panel. It also has all your vitamins and minerals. Guys, these guys are deficient. Most people that are overweight or inflamed, right? They are deficient. They're deficient in minerals, they're deficient in nutrients, and they're highly toxic because fat absorbs toxicity. Obviously, they're probably eating the SAD diet, but some people aren't. Some people do all the right things and can't lose weight. What's wrong with them, right? Maybe it's a hormone dysregulation, but that all comes from healthy fat cells. Biofolate, this is a big one. You know, we've taken in so much glyphosate over the years that we can no longer break down B vitamins in our body the way we used to. We can't methylate them and make them active. This is going to have a direct impact on your adrenals. How many people are in fitness and you hear the term overtraining? That's an adrenal issue. Okay, D-ribose, I'd put that in. Some sort of adrenal support would be really important for them. And just getting them to realize that too much of a good thing is too much of a good thing. There's also a detox matrix to take you from phase 1 to phase 3. So that means taking fat-soluble toxins, because we're talking about adipocytes, and converting them to water-soluble, and then excreting them out of the body. That's a big part. People lose weight. What happens to the toxins when the fat cells purge themselves? What happens to the toxins? They go into the bloodstream and they get stuck. Maybe their liver isn't functioning right. Maybe their lymphatic system's congested. Maybe they're not having normal bowel movements every day. So you have to address all the pathways in and out. It's not just about calories in, calories out. We're talking about switching the mindset of making this healthier. The other thing that we've seen is this little gene mutation called methotetrahydrofolate reductase gene mutation, MTHFR. Some people have other colorful names for it. But what happens is we are missing the enzyme that breaks folic acid down to methylfolate. We're also missing some of the enzymatic action that is going to take homocysteine, which is the byproduct of methylation, and create glutathione, which is our major antioxidant, and enough SAMe to keep our neurology right. How many people get hangry, right, when you're on a diet? When you're starving yourself, you know, and you're on this 1,500 calorie diet, 1,200 calorie diet, well, you're not going to create enough SAMe in your body. You can't. You're not getting enough B vitamins out of that many calories. In order for you to get all the optimal nutrition you need every single day, if you ate 100% organic, non-GMO, you'd need 4,500 calories a day. I couldn't eat that in a day. So we use things like supplements in the most compliance form, whether you like powders or delivery systems, whatever you like. You know, if you like pills, that's fine too. You can take a multi. I'm not really a pill taker, although I work for a supplement company. But what this one does is we offer this biofolate, which comes in and it actually biohacks around this mutation. And then we have the proprietary detox matrix here that biohacks around here and converts homocysteine to glutathione, and then also homocysteine up to SAMe. Sorry, go ahead. So it's really important. And you see this little B6 right here? For your clients that have thyroid issues that can't lose weight, right there is their nutrient deficiency. Okay, B6 is essential for taking trimethylglycine and breaking it down to dimethylglycine, which is the activation of your entire methylation system. So you want to make sure that your thyroid people are getting enough B complex and maybe some additional B6. So here's this is lean greens. This is also in that Remove Complete kit that I created. This is great for fat metabolism because the liver synthesizes large quantities of cholesterol and phospholipids. Some of them are packaged as lipoproteins. This is big, guys. When you see high cholesterol, it's not just inflammation from a diet, it's sick adipocytes. Your cholesterol needs fat to bind with. Most people that have high cholesterol, what are they lacking in their diet? Fat. Because cholesterol is an alcohol. It's an OL. It's a sugar alcohol. So it's going to bind with lipids. It's going to be an anatomical band-aid for things that are broken or cut or inflamed, maybe the inside of your vessels, maybe your digestive tract. But it's also going to go and make brain cells, neurotransmitter pathways. Cholesterol is essential in your health. And what do you do when you go to the doctor? Right? They give you a statin and they lower cholesterol. And then you have a whole cascade of issues. You get CoQ10 deficiency, slow recovery. That's mitochondrial health. CoQ10 starts glycolysis. It's the first thing in the electron transport chain. And that's what we need for cellular respiration, is CoQ10. So fat metabolism is extremely important for making sure that we get enough hepatocytes, right? Those little liver cells and that we can bulk of the lipoproteins that are synthesized by the liver. This is where lipolysis starts. If your liver's sick, you're not going to be able to lose weight and have healthy fat cells. Protein metabolism, synthesis of non-essential amino acids and essential. The removal of ammonia by the synthesis of urea. Anybody ever have somebody losing weight or they say, you know, my urine smells like ammonia? Okay, that is poor protein assimilation. They need enzymes, they need liver support. How many people are bodybuilding taking in 40, 50 grams of protein every meal? You're going to start with high urea. Okay, so this is really important that we keep the protein metabolism healthy. And these hepatocytes, they're responsible for all the plasma proteins. People that have low iron, low red blood cell count, that's all liver health, but it's all protein metabolism. But you have to do the complementary. You got to give the enzymes and you got to enhance the liver. And then carbohydrate metabolism. This is what I was talking about with excess glucose entering the blood after a meal is rapidly taken up by the liver. Now, if the liver is healthy, you get glycogenesis. You get the appropriate storage into the fat cells. But if not, then you get excessive storage into the fat cells because your body should be using some of this as energy for repair, recovery, mitochondrial strength, all of the processes that are going to require a little bit of sugar, insulin balancing. We think that if we overeat just a little bit every day, that it's going to be the downfall of us. It's not. It's the slight overeating every day of the wrong things, the wrong dietary intake, something that's not nutrient dense. So also glutathione. This has an emothion. This is a patented trademark glutathione, and it helps actually with the absorption about 40% more. So for people that do have issues of detox, which most people that have swollen adipocytes, you do. You're not detoxing well. Your body is storing everything, no matter what you do. So we also know that heavy metals are big. And I know we probably deal in a lot of heavy metal protocols where we try to detoxify the people. This actually breaks down ATP production. That's what heavy metals do. They stop the ATP production from the mitochondrial health. There's so many different heavy metals like mercury. We probably all have the fillings in our mouth unless you've had them taken out. You're going to get lead from your water, from your soil. We can't escape this. Cadmium, all of these metals are out there. Arsenic, again, lack of ATP will cause massive neurological and cardiac distress. Arsenic kills by disrupting the biochemical pathways in the bodies that produce ATP. Like heavy metals are no joke. It's not just a detox protocol. It actually destroys neurological and biological processes in the body. And when they become abundant or they're stuck in your fat cells, because where do heavy metals stick? Spine, brain, butt, right? That's all the things. So when they land on your butt and your butt gets big, you know it. But when they're on your brain, it's a slow process of killing you. So this is actually a chelator too. It has the spirulina and chlorella. So we have the Power Cleanse that has the phase 1 through phase 3 detox, taking fat soluble to water soluble, getting them out of the body, filling all your nutrient gaps, all the right forms, all the right things, and nothing else. And then we have the lean greens that we complement it with, which is your chelator, and also your liver enhancer for protein, carbohydrate, and fat metabolism. And those two together cover an entire gamut of biological processes, nutrients, and help the body detox. It's a great high compliant shake. I use it once every day for myself, mostly because I wasn't eating enough. That was the thing I was getting into. And my fat cells were becoming sick because they started to store everything. Everything that came into my body, like, oh, she might not eat, she might not eat. And then I was disrupting my insulin and all the little cascade of inflammation started. You can be just as inflamed and overweight by offsetting your hormone panel, by starving yourself, as you can by overeating. It's no different to your body. It tries to set up to save your life. So you have to take care of it. This proprietary detox matrix, like I talked about, has the spirulina. We also put DMG in here. If you want the Judy's lecture, you know she's a big DMG fan of ours. Dimethylglycine was patented over 3 decades ago for treating systemic inflammation, disease, modulating the immune system. I mean, it does almost everything. I love DMG, and we put it in a ton of our products. But one of the biggest things that they saw was the inflammatory disease response, which was in autism, Parkinson's, weight. It is one of the things that will help with the methylation pathway. It'll help your body drive nutrients into the right places, and it'll decrease inflammation. So guys, I want to go over some specialized supplements, whether you use Nutritional Frontiers or you don't. I think what Dr. Oz came on and he talked about barytone, right? And everybody was like, oh, raspberry ketones are the way. But I don't think people understand that it's not a fad. It's a way of helping your body understand. So CLA, this is one of the products that we use. And, you know, one of the things that I had to learn about weight and weight loss was it wasn't about burning fat. It was about making the fat cell healthier. So when we use these products, these are not fat burners. And I hate how they're positioned in the fitness industry. I mean, we did such a disservice to everybody, basically trying to sell you a green smoothie and cut your calories. And then the treadmill tells you how many calories you burn. That stuff's all a lie. Don't buy the bells and whistles on the treadmill. It's not worth it. Just walk outside. You don't need somebody to tell you how many calories you burn. But CLA actually affects the lipid and glucose metabolism of the fat cell. This actually leads to the reduction of fat size because it modulates gene expression, the epigenetics of what this fat cell is going to do and say to your body. And later at 3 o'clock today, I'm going to be talking about post-COVID protocols. And I know that we think there's no hope if someone got the vaccine, or we're afraid to be around somebody that's got the vaccine. But I will tell you that you can shut off the expression. You can shut off the expression of anything. MTHFR was all going to kill us about 5 years ago. And what did we do? We shut off the expression. We took the gaps and we filled them. We biohacked them. We went around the gaps. We went around the gene expression. And people got better. And I really think that with the protocols that are in place and the advances in science, we're going to do the same thing with the jab. Even people that had COVID, I mean, they had a very hard time recovering. So we're going to talk all about that later at 3 o'clock. But CLA is a great one. I also love barytone. This is the one that Dr. Oz was so big on. Now, not only does it have tons of things that help the body with carbohydrate, metabolic rate, it helps with glycerol 3-phosphate, which is that triglyceride, breaking it down, the lipolysis, using it as energy. All of these herbs do something. They don't burn fat. They help with metabolic endocrine processes that your body's lacking. But the big one was the raspberry ketones. And Dr. Oz said it. I always say, I wish he'd say my name one time, but he never has. But it's a compound that produces the smell in raspberries, supports weight loss, processed by supporting the body's ability to produce adiponectin, a hormone that increases metabolism. So again, it's not that this is burning fat. It's helping your endocrine system. It's helping you create neurotransmitters that tell your brain when to use energy at the right time. And people look at these as like fat burners, and they're not fat burners. They're neurotransmitter processors. They're endocrine enhancers. That's where the breakdown is. Not because you're eating too much pizza, because I know people that work really hard eating all the right things that still have weight issues. There's other things going on in the background, okay? So Garcinia, this is another one. We just want to hit the market. This helps with novolipogenesis. That means like that novolipogenesis, when we were sitting around during COVID and our lymphatic systems were like dying, what they found was your lymphatic system would leak. And that leaking caused inflammation. And the inflammation started a cytokine storm, and your fat cells got bigger to protect you. That's what they found in mice. This is the same thing that can happen with our fat cells. So Garcinia actually helps with playing a role in that and keeps your fat cells healthy by giving them the right communication of when to swell and when not to. So this is a cool product because you can use this and you can use it as a daily. It improves lipid and glucose blood profiles in people. So it actually brings down HDL and LDL. So who would you use this for, right? Your client that has high cholesterol. Because we know what's other things that you would add to the high cholesterol client, right? You'd probably add good fats. So fat is good. And this is just how all of these vitamins and minerals play a role and where they all fit in to the methylation cycle. So we have riboflavin, niacin, thiamine. These are all what we call coenzymes of B vitamins. One of the biggest deficiencies in people that are overweight are B vitamins. And they are what starts what we call the electron transport chain. Right here are all your B vitamin coenzymes that start the process of glycolysis and start the Krebs cycle and the production of ATP. And the more ATP you have, the healthier your fat cells are. So when people are working out and they're going big and go home, you know what they need? They need B vitamins because they're using them all. Exercise is stress to our body, even if we don't want to think that. And then one of the things that I saw with COVID was the fact that the virus utilized ATP to replicate itself. It was an mRNA virus. Any envelope virus will do that, whether it's herpes or SARS-CoV-2, it doesn't matter. But they used ATP. And so what happened was you had people that were so sick for so long, they couldn't get better. Well, consider your people that are overweight or have inflamed fat cells the exact same way. They can't get enough ATP to get ahead of the cellular repair. And so they need a little bit more. And this actually has the D-ribose, which is a naturally occurring sugar that's an energy-producing substrate for ATP. It actually helps with the production of adenosine triphosphate and can really enhance mitochondrial health and enhance adipose tissue. So here's the moral of the story, y'all. They're not fat, they're inflamed. Okay, this is actually a dis-ease of the body. It's a symptom, just like thyroid issues, like cancer. It's the way that your body is manifesting. And I usually tell people, be grateful that it came out in this way, because it could have been something worse. And it's actually something that we can see. The issue is some people don't know how to get in front of it, around it, and how to help with the adipocyte health. And that's what we're covering today. But what happens over time is you're going to get chronic inflammation, and that's going to become a dis-ease later. Your body doesn't know the codes for billing your insurance. It just knows the root cause. So whether we have a T cell dysfunction, which comes from adipocyte health, remember, they're a producer of T cells. Okay, they do help with that. Obesity, the crushing, the diet, the leaky gut, the stress, all of these things can be contributing to that inflammatory response. Food sensitivities. If you are in fitness and you're helping people lose weight and you're not doing food sensitivity tests, you should be. Because it's one of the biggest things. Because guess what? We give the same diet, right? We're like, oh, cut gluten, cut dairy, let's eat this, let's eat this. What if they're initially being inflamed by chicken? What if they're initially being inflamed, but later on they can eat it because you get the inflammatory markers down? So guys, make sure you're checking the sensitivities, because most of the time, the things that people eat the most are what they're most susceptible to, because of this little guy right here, leaky gut. Is there fat cells in your digestive tract? Yeah. What if they get inflamed? Are they going to separate those tight junctions of the small intestine? They sure are. So we have to be careful that we're not missing things. And you got to check, okay, diet's good. Okay, leaky gut, we got to work on. Oh, stress. Hey, every time we're stressed out, what happens? We create a sympathetic nervous system drive, which makes the adrenals produce more cortisol. And what does that disrupt? Every hormone in our body. So it's not just a one way. The calorie in, calorie out is gone. So I'm going to talk about SPMs a little bit, because these are a must have and must give to any person that has inflamed adipocytes. Okay, we can't even say overweight anymore, because it's not even true. I mean, overweight, what does that mean? Right? They're inflamed, they're sick. They're producing cytokines that are telling their body, you have a dis-ease. And so SPMs are specialized pro-resolving mediators. These are natural in your body. Here's what disrupts them. Obese humans, the SAD diet, stress, all of these things can disrupt these naturally produced, specialized pro-resolving mediators. And what does that mean? These are just the guys that resolve all inflammation in your body and then create cellular repair. These are natural. These only have been studied since 2014. And they're amazed by what they can do. This was one of the treatments they used for COVID with great success. In 2 days, people overcame COVID. Never heard about them in the news. I never talked about them, but they're absolutely beneficial and essential. And I'm just going to get real quick here. So here's EPA and DHA, right? Good fat. We're talking about fat. Your body needs fat. Right here where it says pre-resolving mediators, these are called hydroxylated metabolites. This is what's destroyed by stress, lack of sleep, heavy metals, whatever you want to say, lifestyle, the sad American diet, they're all destroyed here. And these little pre-resolvings, they tell DHA and EPA to become specialized. And then they point, go take the inflammation out of the thyroid. Okay, go take the inflammation over there. There's a virus, go modulate that inflammation. That's why they're called specialized. And there's hundreds of pathways of specialized pro-resolving and pre-resolving mediators, hundreds. So here's your EPA and DHA up here. The pre-resolvins come in, they tell EPA, we have to become these resolvins. I want you to go down this pathway. You go down this pathway. You go down this pathway. And every single pathway has a specialized resolution of inflammation. And then every pathway has a specialized cellular repair. These are very new. There's not a lot of research on them. We're going to break them down even more when we do the COVID talk later, because this is the game changer for your post-COVID and post-jab people. Extremely important. So there's 4 types. There's protectins, there's maricins, then there's resolvins, and then there's what's called lipoxins. And lipoxins aren't really studied as much as these, but here's your immune system right here. They come from DHA sources. Where's the first place you get SPMs? Do you know? Yep, breast milk. So you get toll-like receptors and SPMs from breast milk. How many people were breastfed in the 70s and 80s? Not a lot, right? I wasn't. We missed generations of kids who don't have toll-like receptors. Now, toll-like receptors are part of your innate immune system. Toll-like receptor 9 is the receptor for HPV. So have we seen more HPV in generations that were born in the 70s and 80s? Yeah. But if they were breastfed, you can overcome it within 2 minutes. Or he took out 5 minutes, so I said that. You can overcome it within 2 weeks. Okay? Yeah, he held up there. Stop doing that. Pew! So this is actually really cool information. And what we want to do is get inflammation down. So whatever you're doing with your clients that are trying to lose weight, always add in something for inflammation. It's really important. I love SPMs, high compliancy, safe for everybody. Pregnancy, children, animals, everybody. And so what happened with women that were pregnant and got COVID? They couldn't do anything, right? They couldn't take the normal stuff. They can take these. They're very safe. So my body, my choice. This is the SAD diet. People want people to wear a mask, get a vaccine. But let me tell you what happened. You guys hear about the ACE2 receptor? What nutrient blocked the ACE2 receptor so that SARS-CoV-2 couldn't come in and attach to it? Did you hear about that? Good. That actually stopped the replication of the virus, zinc did. Vitamin D. So your ACE2 receptor, you have more of these in your lungs, brain, and fat tissue than anywhere else. What protects this is vitamin D. But what happened was the SARS-CoV-2 virus came in for people that had low vitamin D, attached to this ACE2 receptor, and then you couldn't take angiotensin 2 to angiotensin 1,7. This is macrophage 1, macrophage 2. This is let's go out, destroy cytokine storm, pro-inflammatory. This is everybody calm down. And so people that were obese, almost 88% of them were vitamin D deficient when they got SARS-CoV-2. Why would that be? What is vitamin D? A what? What type of vitamin? It's fat soluble. When your fat cells are sick, it's really hard for you to absorb vitamin D. Okay? So this is what happened to our people. And this was a study that was done about ACE2 receptors and SARS-CoV-2. And basically their metabolism turning on the immune system to overcome that viral infection is why they succumbed to it. And they literally went into such a cytokine storm that they couldn't shut it off. And what happens when you get sick? You get fluid, and they ended up with interstitial pneumonia, and then they vented them. And what happens there when you're putting pressure against water around cells? It's like hydraulics, and they explode. And they basically were kind of, I don't want to say killed, but that's basically what happened. So the treatment protocol for what they were doing, and they knew it. So what did they say in the Health Freedom panel yesterday? Don't go. So physical activity and weight loss, diet alone had more effects and better benefits than anything else. Exercise actually happened. So right here, this is exercise, this yellow. So people that were like trying to lose weight, this is diet. They maintained it longer by changing their nutrition, filling nutrient gaps and pulling toxins. It was better to exercise after they got to a healthy weight, and then they could maintain it longer here. So this was actually a cool graph because what's the very first thing people do when they want to lose weight? Where do they go? They go to the naturopath? They go to the chiropractor? No, where do they go? They go to the gym. So they take their deficient toxic body in there and start pounding it. And initially it works, right? Because they're starving themselves and then their body gets smart. So be a smart trainer. Fill the gaps first. Change the mindset, reset. And then you can add all the bells and whistles. But your body can only do so much with so much. So here's just some ending things. Deficiency and toxicity are the two biggest contributors to hypertrophy, which is adipocyte increase. Adipose tissue is specialized storage. You cannot burn fat. No one's allowed to say that here ever again. Okay, but metabolic immune is really the key to healthy weight loss, is modulating the immune systems. Add your SPMs with your people that you're working with for weight loss. It'll make a world of difference.